Hi there, this is Mike Graham of Weightloss and Personal Development, and today I want to talk to you about the sweet smell of success because nothing tastes quite like it. Success has concerned many people over the years, and obviously many people have been successful, but has it been plain sailing getting there? We see the finished works of Michelangelo, of Leonardo, of any famous artist, and yet, we can read of their struggles, and we know that they've been quite considerable at times, like the picture of the poor artist in the studio, and then after he's dead, people exchanging their works for massive sums of money, and so forth. And maybe that is the price they had to pay, or writers who've not found publishers for ages for their work and just carried on trying to find somebody who'd print their work, and in the end having success, but only after many times being turned down. Or in any walk of life, it. The path of success is seldom straightforward. It's not a straight arrow from the moment you were when you started to the finish point where your goal is in reach and you've got there. Your path of success can look like a squiggly line that goes around in circles, and it's 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and then everything goes off in the opposite direction and then comes back on itself, and then eventually you get to the arrowhead and that's it. You hone in on goal. Or you can think of it like flying an aeroplane. You seldom stay on the correct course, but you're constantly correcting that, and so on. And great strivers like Thomas Edison, well, he's credited with inventing the light bulb, but it took him 10,000 goes. Can you credit that? 10,000. The guy was driven, let's say. He had to invent this thing. And after each failure, he just said, now I know another way that doesn't work, and got up and carried on. Jesus, that man had some staying power. And eventually he got it, because we have what we know is today is the light bulb, which is based on his invention. And I know other people sort of may have invented things that might have worked better than Edison's light bulb, but for sheer staying power, you can't beat Edison. And Robert the Bruce sitting in a cave watching the spider spin its web, and having so many false starts, yet always getting up again and doing what it has to do, which is to spin that deadly web to catch flies in. That's the work of a spider, is making webs. And it's persistence watching it, and he thought of himself like that in trying to defeat the English. And time he'd lead an army and they get beaten, and so many times there was defeat, and they'd be under the wretched rule of England. And then eventually he persisted so often, and they finally defeated the English at the Battle of Bannockburn, and that was the triumph that came at the end of this path of failures. And I said that the road to success is strewn with failure. It's paved with failures. That's the road you walk down. So you have to sort of look at it in a certain way. Now, unfortunately, our education system, at least the one I was in, didn't really gear one to look at things like that. If you failed, you were a failure. If you were past, you're a success. You know, and you were built up like that. And many, many children have been damaged by that damning way of looking at things. You know, their whole lives have been affected by it. Maybe they've been lucky enough to have people around them that could pull them out of it and get them through, and not think of themselves as failures, because, you know, life is quite a long business, and to be branded a failure at the age of 9 seems pretty catastrophic, if you ask me. I mean, for myself, I was lucky. I was an academic success, and I never really knew failure, but I knew it later on in life, and I kept on knowing it later on in life. And quite frankly, I wish I'd learned lessons earlier about failure. I mean, it was nice to be successful, but I wish I'd learned some lessons about failure along the way, and to know that the failures you experience are not permanent. They don't have to do you any sort of damage. You can just get up again. But we're not told that very often. You know, it doesn't seem to enter into our culture quite so easily as it should. You know, so learning how to get up after failure is part of the process, and to treat it just as a sort of feedback loop, so that, you know, if you fail at something, like at a goal, then you look at what it is that you should have done better, what it is that you didn't get right, and put it right, and move on, and see if that works better. I mean, the point here is that you don't really ever fail until you pull the trigger on yourself. When you decide your life's over and you're just going to end it there, you know, goodbye cruel world, and you jump off a cliff, or you slash your wrists, then, you know, there's no chance of redeeming yourself. But until then, failure doesn't have to be final. And, you know, you can fall for a bit. You know, you can leave something alone for a bit. You may leave it alone forever, but that doesn't mark you down as a failure. You know, giving up isn't a very good thing to do, but you have to examine what your motivation was in the first place. You know, if you're going after something which is precious to you, which is valuable to you, which means enough to you, and you feel like giving it up, and, you know, I've had that problem with all sorts of things, with marketing and stuff, or with weight loss, trying to find a weight loss program, or just writing. You know, if something is actually worthwhile enough to you, then, you know, when you feel like giving up, just look at your why. Just let your why be the fuel that you use to get you towards your goal. And keep on looking at it. What is your motivation for doing something? If something was important enough to start, that you've applied yourself considerably in, then surely it's important enough to continue with, in spite of obstacles, in spite of difficulties. Because when you get to the success point, it'll taste so damn sweet, you know. And that's it. You know, when you're doing something and it doesn't quite work out the way you wanted it to, then okay, accept it isn't working out as you wanted it to, but don't be too downhearted, because this is just another bit of feedback, and you can learn from it and move on. And that's really the message I wanted to say. You know, just don't get sucked into thinking that just because you fail once, you have to give it up, you know. And tasting that success will make it all the sweeter if you have got up a few times after failures and made it through to the end point. You know, whatever field it's in, you know, whether it's trying to get a publisher, whether it's trying to lose weight, whether it's trying to heal yourself from something, or get into a sports team, or whatever. Anyway, That's what I wanted to talk about today. So thank you for watching, and hopefully catch you on another call. Bye for now.